All right, Sean Bormet, we are here with another 5 questions. Since the last time we've talked, we announced our schedule formally, officially, publicly, with 4 home duels, all at Chrysler Center. How excited are you about those 4?
Yeah, great Big Ten schedule. Super excited about our home duels. Really happy to announce all 4 will be held in Chrysler Center. We got Michigan State on a Sunday. We got Penn State on a Friday night. We got Rutgers on Sunday, and we got Iowa on a Friday night. So, really looking forward to packing Chrysler Center. There's going to be some really exciting wrestling. Some of the best wrestling in the country will happen here at home on those home duel nights. Some really competitive duel meets, some fierce competition. Big Ten season is the best season, so really looking forward to this season, those home duels.
Right now, we're kind of going through weight certification. Can you talk about that process a little bit? Started yesterday, a little bit ongoing over the course of the week. What all does that kind of entail?
Yeah, the certification process, usually it's 2-3 days, getting guys through. Obviously, some of the guys, it's real clear what their weight's going to be. Some guys are kind of in between weights, and usually, for those guys, we may certify them at their lowest allowable weight, even if they don't end up wrestling that weight. It's always really good, with the nature of wrestling, it's good to have options. And, some guys, as we start getting into their season, their weight continues to just kind of drop just from the nature of our training. And, so especially for some of the freshmen, it's good for them to have options to go down a weight if their weight starts to drop. But great. We had a great team for our certification process between Dr. Ketch, who really kind of helped come up with that whole system, and our trainer. So everything's going smooth with that. Freshmen are doing a good job. It's usually a little adjustment for them with the hydration process and some of the different factors that go into it. But weight certification is going well, and then next week we'll start hitting our 20-hour week, and we'll start ramping up the mat work and decreasing our running and lifting just a little bit.
Okay, and then we had a handful of submitted questions. So first one, you mentioned the freshmen. We had this heralded freshman class, and with the new redshirt rules with the freshmen, and you have 5 dates that don't count against your redshirt. Have you guys put any thought into how you might use some of these freshmen, if we might see them in the lineup?
Yeah, I think you'll definitely see some of our freshmen in the lineup. Last year was the first year that we had those new rules with the red shirts, so they can wrestle up to 5 competitions and still maintain their red shirt status. With this year's class, I think we definitely plan to use as many of those as we possibly can. And sometimes with the tournaments, it makes a lot more sense because they can get multiple matches instead of just one dual meet. But we kind of load that up a little earlier in the fall, in the first the first semester of competition with some of the tournaments, and then also preserve a few of those dates as options once we start hitting our dual meet season. Because just with the nature of our sport with injury and illness, we want to make sure we have some dates preserved for some of those guys. Once we get into that dual meet season, if we want to use somebody, I know last year I think we used those really well with a handful of the guys, and I really like it. It's a new rule that I think has been great for our sport, and being able to make sure that we're always filling our best lineups on the mat, especially in the dual meet season and the dual meets that are on TV. And the one thing I would like to see him tweak is I wish we could use that same rule for guys redshirting in any year. Because right now it only applies to guys redshirting in a freshman year. So, hopefully we can continue to push and get that added to anybody in a redshirt year. But we'll definitely be utilizing some of these freshmen we have in, and looking forward to seeing them in the lineup in the maize and blue singlet.
All right, talking about rules, another submitted question is what are your thoughts on some of these new rules? The scoring rules, 3-point takedowns in your fall. What are your thoughts?
Just from a philosophy standpoint, whatever the rules are, we're going to work, and come up with, an offensive approach to scoring and winning matches. So, for me, it was a little, some of the rule changes were a little bit of a head scratcher in terms of what the intent was. I know the intent was to try to create more exciting wrestling, but, I don't always know that the point value is create more exciting wrestling. It's the action that takes place, and it's incentivizing the action on the mat. And I think one of the great things we have in folk style is that all 3 positions hold a lot of value. So I would like to see that continue. Even the top and bottom. I mean, it's a huge emphasis in folk style wrestling, and I think we've had obviously great attendance at our NCAA tournaments and fan base. So hopefully these rules will do what I think the people that came up with these new rules were intending. We will see. The verdict's still out. I know we are starting to implement a lot of this stuff. Mostly with the 3-point takedown, and we got the different near fall and the hand touch went away. So those are a couple big things, and we're starting to really emphasize. We've been kind of playing around with those new rules since they were announced, but we're starting to make them a little more real in our training and in our scoring during some of these practices, so that so guys are actually the points are registering on the board, and they're connecting with them mentally. But wrestling's still wrestling, and going out and scoring, executing, and putting points on the board is the goal. So whatever those rules are, we're gonna find a way to put our best wrestling on the mat and get our hand raised.
All right, last question, last submitted question, is how often do you still get on the mat?
Yeah, that's a great question. So depends what day it is. I don't get on the mat nearly as much as I used to, but I still like to get on the mat. I definitely like to, it's more play wrestling and rolling around with the guys, which is, my only and most enjoyable form of cardio at this point. Still get on the bike, I still lift weights, do all that stuff, but I do like getting on the mat and rolling around with the guys. Probably a little more top bottom than I used to do. I used to do more on the feet. I still roll wrestle on the feet some, but the road trips are fun because usually we have extra guys on the road trips, or even sometimes the coaches start to wrestle with each other, and I always enjoy it. It's still my favorite workouts, getting on the mat and wrestling. Every now and then I gotta throw a straight jacket or two down on one of the guys, especially some of the younger guys, but I would say if I'm lucky, once or twice a week, and hopefully I can continue to increase that this season.
All right, Sean, thank you, and go Blue.
Go Blue.